Well, joining me is the sports commentator Ade Olajide. Ade, thanks as ever for joining us. Sepp Blatter, why are the African nations still backing him?
Sepp Blatter has had a great relationship with the African football associations over the last 2 decades, or last 15 years per se. He's first of all gave a promise that he was going to take the World Cup to Africa, and he held on that promise. When the rest of the world said Africa was a little bit too noisy, the vuvuzelas needed a little bit of a ban, he said no, it's part of their culture, they need to stick with it. He also increased funding to the African nations in terms of all the other governments trying to interfere with the football associations. Sepp Blatter and FIFA really went hard on rebuking the governments and supporting the FA. And looking at the events today, you saw Issa Hayatou firmly behind his very close friend, so he's got a great relationship with the head of the Confederations of African Football as well. So Sepp Blatter will be a tough call in terms of shifting him from, these African votes so far.
We're hearing rumours about possibly withdrawing from the 2018 World Cup. Some European countries considering that, resignations, votes of no confidence. The reality is he's been elected for another 4 years.
Absolutely.
So it's virtually impossible to get him out, isn't it?
Absolutely. Of course there are going to be meetings. There'll be talk of, revolt, people pulling out, the European nations coming out of the World Cup. But the World Cup is the biggest event in the world. No national team will want to take themselves out of this competition. Yes, they might not be happy with him being re-elected. However, the speech he gave this evening showed how strong and popular he remains amongst the FIFA faithful. He got a standing ovation at the end of the speech, and that shows that people still believe in him. Now we're hearing rumors that Spain actually voted in support of Sepp Blatter. So it looks like even in the camp of the European nations, there's still a little bit of disharmony in terms of supporting one another. And Sepp Blatter, again, with that speech, just shows how popular he continues to be in Europe and around the world.
But that remarkable comment from Prince Ali, he described the scandal as a stain that marks us all. How does FIFA recover from this, regardless of who's leading them?
Well, Sepp Blatter said that you can't control everybody, which is a fact, but you also have to be careful to understand that underneath your leadership, there has to be order. It is a stain that marks FIFA. However, there's been this rumor around FIFA for years that there's been back-ended deals going on. It's been rumored, it's been reported, but it still feels like the PR machine, in terms of the football on the pitch, finds a way of clearing away this stain. And this time is probably the hardest fight that Sepp Blatter has had to fight, and FIFA as a whole. But I still think with him at the helm and a lot of work and changes in the way it's been run, I still think they'll pull out of it.
And we're hearing stories that they might change the way the votes go. There might be more representatives of the bigger countries, which would seem sensible. But wouldn't that just weight things again for the likes of Blatter next time round?
It should for the likes of Blatter next time around. However, when he mentions that the nations that are being represented by just one executive committee member will feel very happy. The Indian nations with 1-point-something billion having just one representative. Now, Sepp Blatter saying during his speech that they need to be represented more. Oceania need to be represented more. Africa, of course, are enjoying a lot of executive members. However, even though it might fall negatively towards him, it still works positively in a way, because he's the man that wants to push that forward, and he eventually does.
The Khan fight is the one everybody's been looking forward to, but there's so much resting on this for him, because Khan simply can't afford to lose, can he?
He can't. I interviewed him about 4 or 5 years ago when he defeated the Argentinian fighter. He said at that time he wanted to fight Mayweather. He's called on Mayweather for years now, and he stepped away from the fight against Kell Brook to take on Chris Algieri, who just lost to Manny Pacquiao. This is a very dangerous fight. Chris Algieri has only lost 1 fight, and in the fight he got knocked down 6 times. However, still managed to take Manny Pacquiao the whole 12 rounds. So even though Khan is expected to win, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's more calculative, he's got the fastest hands in boxing, apart from maybe Manny Pacquiao. But this is still a dangerous fight. If he wins it, he puts him in a great position to fight Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao.
And interestingly, Khan's being quoted as saying his trainer, Virgil Hunter, has made him a more defensive fighter for the first time. Is that a little bit of a step back? Is that a wise head on on older shoulders?
That is a wise head on the older shoulders. Whilst coming in, I was actually thinking about that. Khan, years ago, when he lost to Bredis Prescott in London, he was all guns blazing, attacking, and then got caught and got knocked out. But nowadays, he picks a time to attack, he picks a time to punch, he defends a little bit, and he's more calm and collected and more slower in terms of fighting. I think it's a brilliant style for him, and he's won about 4 fights already due to this new change in style. So Virgil Hunter training with Khan has definitely put this new style in.
So let's leap ahead. Let's assume he does win.
Yeah.
Will Mayweather fight him?
Mayweather, they say styles make fights. Mayweather against Khan, it's a very tricky one. Khan is probably the only fighter that has the tools that perhaps could defeat Mayweather. So Mayweather would pick his opponents wisely. I don't think Khan can win, but you know, Mayweather surely is looking at a time when he's just going to retire as an undefeated fighter. He wouldn't want to get into the ring with a 50-50 chance of defeating the opponent. And Khan, for me, is a very, very big risk.
Now let's turn to a fighter who's personally exciting me. I think he's the most exciting heavyweight on the scene, certainly. Anthony Joshua. A lot of foreign viewers, I know, won't be aware of him. Olympic champion, 12 pro fights, 12 knockouts, but up against a very different opponent this time.
Yes, the opponent is fighting at this time, turned professional in 2003, still hasn't been knocked out yet, has gone 12 rounds with the former Vitaly Klitschko, gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury. Is a really hard man to crack. However, you've got Anthony Joshua, who we're all excited about. Strong, big, powerful punches, has knocked out every single opponent and has not gone past round 3. So this is a fight that we're all looking forward to. If he can defeat this man in great fashion, then it makes him the real deal. But now the questions are still being asked until the fight tomorrow.
Of course, we're talking there about Kevin Johnson.
Yes.
He's come out with a traditional trash talk saying Joshua's not fought anybody yet. Will that give Joshua a little bit more impetus?
I was expecting a little bit of response from Anthony Joshua, especially when he said Joshua has done what his grandmother could do. However, Joshua's now becoming the pro that we expect him to be. He's very calm. He's not responding to any of this trash talking. He really wants to get into the ring tomorrow and prove to everybody that he is the great hope that we think he is. He will do the business in the ring.
Ade, thank you very much indeed as ever for your analysis.